Hello, it's Brenda Wood, and I am here with Omar Howard, and he has got a very interesting story to tell. And Omar, I'm going to let you introduce yourself and just tell you a little bit about your background growing up, a little bit about your incarceration period, and then we'll get into some questions. But if you can just maybe do a brief overview.
Okay. How you doing? My name is Omar Howard. I am currently reside in Atlanta, Georgia, or the Decatur part of it, or the metro part of Atlanta. I am a returning citizen, as they say. And I actually went to prison for 13 major felons. Went in when I was 18. I got out when I was 33 years old. I made the adjustment to my life because I thought it was important if I wanted to stay free to make some adjustments. One of the first things I did, I got saved. And once I got saved, I began to participate in a lot of activities, positive activities while I was in prison. At the time, I thought it was just something good to do, just get out, but it really turned my life around. Some of the things that I did while I was in prison, some of the things that I'm actually doing now. So it was just building me up for what I was going to be actually doing now. Since being out of prison, in 2007, I've been doing a lot of public speaking, a lot of motivation speaking, going to different schools and churches and being involved in conferences, being flown across the United States, just speaking and doing a lot of conversation about reentry, about choices and consequences. A lot of what I talk about is choices and consequences. I talk with a lot of schools and youth. But I do go back inside the prison where I actually have an opportunity to motivate those who are incarcerated. 2009, I was actually, while I was still on parole, I was asked to come back in the same place I paroled out of, to come back in as a chaplain, which at the time that was unheard of because I was still on parole. I just paroled out that particular facility 2 years before, and I got immediately approved to come back in as chaplain. Now, at the time, I was coming back in as a volunteer chaplain, but I was being compensated through a ministry called Hardbound Ministries. And since January 1st, 2010, I've been the chaplain of the Atlanta Transition Center. Something interesting happened after I got off parole in Georgia. I was able to apply for a pardon, which at the time I thought I'll apply for it, but I don't know if I'm gonna get it because I have so many charges, a lot of violence.
Can you explain exactly what a pardon is?
Yes, I got pardoned in 2018, January.
Okay.
So getting this pardon, today I was super excited to get it because I didn't think I was going to get it because, like I said, I had 11 major felonies after they reduced everything. And so initially I thought a pardon actually sponges the whole record, but actually the pardon when you pull up my record, you'll still see the charge, but at the bottom you'll see pardon. Initially, and really, I got one part of the pardon. I wasn't able to receive my gun rights back, but I was able to receive a pardon, which, like I said, it's great. Now, I am super psyched. Like I said, they don't just hand pardons out. Especially, with what I was charged with, so many charges of what I was charged with, but I was fortunate to. So that was actually a pardon is, and the pardon parole board is the one that actually grants you the pardon, not the government in the state of Georgia. And so, like I said, when you pull up my background record, you'll see the charges, but you'll see at the bottom of it, it says pardon. So that's initially what the pardon is. It has some influence. Then I guess it has some influence in the sense of I got that pardon in January. I received the paperwork in January 2018, so I applied for it in 2017. January, I received the pardon. And then, and matter of fact, I want to show you.
While he's away, I just want to make sure everybody understands that he is showing us the actual pardon paperwork.
Just so you won't think that I was really playing around about it, I actually received that pardon, and you can see the charges. So that's voluntary manslaughter, armed robberies. And it shows you the actual pardon. So you can see the seal. So actual pardon. So I'm excited about it now because, like I say, everybody don't get it, and it does set a great trend for those who come out. And I encourage people all the time who's been incarcerated, apply for the pardon. Even if you don't get it, apply for it. If they deny you, apply for it again, because the more we win the opportunity, the more it opens up better opportunities for a lot of us to be able to do a lot of different things. 2019, I think one of the reasons because of the pardon, the Department of Correction actually hired me on as a full-time employee, which, like I said, it's unheard of.
That is unheard of.
Yeah, so I'm still doing the exact same thing I was doing. I work as a chaplain at 2 facilities, and I still go visit a lot of the facilities. I actually go inside of DJJ. I talk with the juveniles. So I've had the access to do a lot of different things because of the life choice that I chose. Post prison, and then what I continue to do consistently over my time. And so it's been an honor. It's been a privilege. It's still tough because even with a pardon, I think, until they come up with a place where they actually expunge that record, if you receive a pardon, there's still going to be a lot of discrepancies in your life. But my understanding, they have passed a bill where if you receive the pardon for particular charges, they're going to totally expunge off your record, which is a great, great, great milestone for returning citizens. Beginning January 1st, 2021 in the state of Georgia. So we are very excited on this end for that particular win. So I'm going to be an advocate to, if you got a pardon, that should apply for anybody that receives a pardon.
Now that's at the state level, not at the federal government level.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the whole government level, government pardon compared to a state pardon, because I didn't have a federal charge, so I didn't have to apply to the president in particular. So I don't really know the difference of that per se. I just know in Georgia, that the governor actually approves the pardon. Actually, the pardon parole board actually approves the pardon. So.
Well, they definitely they saw something in you. They saw a change from when you went in to when you got out. And then even more so what you did while you were out to be able to receive that pardon.
Oh, without a doubt.
Yeah. So talk to me about your life pre-prison. What was it like?
Only child, originally from Auburn, Alabama. Grew up in poverty, but a lot of bad influences from relatives. And when I moved up here, it was dreams and admiration of going to college, playing sports, and single mother home. The norm story that we hear, a reason why so many of us make some decisions. And then I in an early age, got involved in a lot of stuff. And caught my first charge when I was 15 years old, a robbery charge. And between 15 and 18, I was in and out of juvenile. Robbery charge, gun charge, terrorist threat charge, one particular thing added to the next thing. And so it was my mentality changed, my attitude changed, but the more I kept going in a spiral, going down. Very depressed, very stressed out, because I really didn't know how to exist out here. I just did what I was taught from our peers at the time. And so because, I had such a, touching relationship with my family and what they did, it was easy for me to gravitate to those who were similar. So I had a son, another son on the way, and at 18, I called murder, felony murder, 3 counts on robbery, 3 counts of false imprisonment, 3 counts of aggravated assault, burglary, carrying a concealed weapon charge. When I was 18 years old, I had just turned 18. So I look back over my life a lot, and I use it, all the pain that I went through. I try to use it as a tool now to try to get young folks to think different, look and do things differently, because those choices is what caused me to make bad decisions, and those choices put me in a place where I had to do 15 off 18 years sentence. And I know you heard the murder felony murder. The murder was dropped down to a voluntary manslaughter charge, and they ran all the charges concurrent. So that's how.
Instead of stacking them on each other, they ran it all concurrent.
If they would have ran it consecutive, I'd probably still been in prison.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if they made it ran it consecutive. So I was fortunate enough to. And here's the catch to my story. I wasn't the one to actually kill the person, but I was the only one that did the time for it. So,
Mm-hmm.
of course, when I'm out here speaking to kids, I'm always telling them about first type the people you're dealing with, but secondly, most of us, all the stuff that we're doing, we don't even have money to even to fight a case, But that's one of the things, just taking my mom through so much, like stressing her out, causing her to go into, depressions and just not understanding, and her taking a lot of blame, you know,
Yes,
for,
the family is a victim as well.
of
They
course,
absolutely are a victim as well.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that. So now take me through the process. You get indicted. You have to fight your case. So you get a public defender, I'm assuming.
Well, actually, it's crazy. We was able, the lawyer cost a lot more than what he so my mother was only able to give him $500. That case cost thousands more. He know that I didn't have the money, and for some reason he wanted to fight that case. He felt like I was innocent. He believed my story. He knew it was something that was about that story wasn't right. He didn't want to say to try to get even some other people to help, but the problem was he wasn't experienced in murder charges. The judge recognized that, and the judge actually took him off the case and put a appointed lawyer because he wanted me to have a fair trial.
Well, that was probably a good thing then.
Well, listen, it was a great thing, and the lawyer actually said, "I wish I would have had this case in the beginning because there's a lot of things that we could have fought for." Let me say this because I always have to say this. I always take my blame for being a part of something, regardless of if I didn't actually pull the trigger and I actually wasn't that close. I had an opportunity and a great opportunity to meet the family when I got out and really sit down and have a conversation and build a great relationship with the mother of the victim. To the passing of her passing about a month ago. I had a great relationship with her, had a great opportunity to sit down and really pour my heart out to her about what happened.
I'm
And
sure she appreciated that, to know the truth.
she was more moved. What was interesting about her was, and you don't meet many people like this throughout life. She said in the courtroom, and she said like God told her that I wasn't the one that did it. And she said she told her family like he wasn't the one that did that. He wasn't the one that did that. And so that was comfort to me, but I've always took my blame as far as being part of a lifestyle where somebody's life can get taken. And I don't think, even in the case, it still, to me, I think it was an accidental shooting, but we was doing something wrong. We was trying to rob a house. So either way.
And things went bad.
It went bad. So I utilize that all the time when I'm talking out in public or talking, because I understand on both sides of doing time for something I didn't do. I understand when friends, and I understand. So there's a lot of parts I understand. If I wouldn't have told them myself. You understand what I'm saying? So
right.
I'm not mad at nobody. I'm mad at myself because of the choices I made. Where I do have some anger is because I feel like the DA didn't even try to see was I innocent. I think it was more about if I get a conviction, he was okay.
And that's where I was going to go. Do you feel that the judicial system was fair for you?
Well, I think the judge was fair enough. I think the judge did all that he can do to make sure I had a fair trial. For whatever reason, he took the note, because even when I was doing the armed robbery charge, and that particular, so I had two cases that they ran in concurrent.
Right.
Two different robbery cases, one robbery that went into a murder. That particular judge on the robbery, with the same judge on the robbery charge, the DA was just really trying to bash my name. Like this, two different DAs. She was just like bashing me, like, oh, he has a murder charge. And the judge was like, yo, we're not talking about that case. We're talking about this case. And they was actually trying to give me more time than the time that I took. And to this day, I never forget what he said. He said, young man, I feel like You was a young man that just got involved in the wrong things. Do your time and get out of here and have a better life. Like,
So you
I wish
didn't
I
get scolded by the judge?
not at all.
Because
The
I hear
DA,
stories that you get scolded when you get
yeah.
sentenced.
So
Yes.
yeah, and but he had comforting words. I would just, all I could do was just sit there. He really made me smile because you always want to feel like someone cares, you know. And I have been misled so many parts of my life, and to see him like at that time, seemed like he cared about, you know, somebody that was just in the wrong place one time. Well, he still had to do his job as far as handing down a sentence, but he didn't let the DAs run me over.
That's good.
Which
Now, were you able to get out on bond?
No, because I had a murder charge on Rob. I
Right.
wasn't able to get a bond. And thank God I didn't, because that time needed to count.
Right.
So a lot of people don't understand, like,
Mm-hmm.
when you have these serious charges and you have evidence against you, it's not always good to take those bonds, because you want all that time to count for you and not against you. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So if I took a bond, and like I said, I didn't have the money to fight no case. So after a few times going to court fighting it, I was able to take a 10-year sentence on the armed robbery, 18-year sentence on the manslaughter. The same judge from the attorney request run everything concurrent, which is once again just a blessing. Ran everything concurrent, gave me an 18-year sentence. And what's amazing was, in the state of Georgia, armed robbery was a high level charge and a manslaughter charge.
Really?
Yeah, it was a level. Armed robbery is a level 7 crime. Manslaughter was a level 6 crime. It's unbelievable.
That is unbelievable.
The armed robbery back then carried a mandatory 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have got out on a manslaughter on 1 year before I could have got out on armed robbery, carried a mandatory 5 years. Of course, a couple years after that, they passed a law where armed robbery became mandatory 10 years.
Right.
It didn't apply to me because it wasn't made retroactive.
Right.
But because I had so many felons, I ended up doing I did a 15 off 18, which I didn't get a life sentence, but I still did a life sentence.
You missed a lot of your younger years.
18 to 33 years old.
Yes. So now you're sitting in prison. What is your thought process when you find out that you're going to do a lot of time?
I knew shortly after I got locked up that I know this is something that I didn't want to do for the rest of my life. I didn't know how much time I was going to actually get or do. I just knew in my heart that I should have been a better person than what I allowed myself to be. What I decided to do was, I ended up going to church. I got saved, and it gave me a different view of life. Even though I got saved for the wrong reason at the time, because I just thought, if I get right, God,
thing to do.
You'll drop the charges. I thought he'd drop the charges. I thought God helped me get rid of the charges and I get out. But God knew that if I'd have got out, my mind wouldn't have been right. I'd have went back to doing crime. So while I was in there, and there's times I thought about suicide. My aunts had passed away shortly after I got her, who I was really, one of my favorite aunts. I started seeing where friends wasn't friends that I thought they were. My son's mother was bringing my son up there, and that was crushing me. But I knew that that's he was gonna be one of the reasons I changed my older son. Definitely, he was born at the time, and she had the youngest kid shortly after, a month after I got locked up. So, but when I went to get my time, I went to prison. Days I just sat in there, and some days I was just lost, because you're talking about an 18, 19-year-old kid at the time, just starting to do time in one of the worst prisons you can go to at the time, and didn't have a clue about life, didn't know nothing about life. And of course, you get accustomed to prison rules and laws. But I was devastated for the first couple of years, because my mom, when she came to visit, she cried for about an hour every time she came to visit about the first couple of years, because she had to see her son inside of a prison institution. That crushed me. Seeing my son grow up while I was in prison, that crushed me. But it also motivated me. because I knew that if I wanted to be a better father, I was going to have to change some things about my life. You know, ended up getting my GED. They ended up stopping college right when I got my GED. So I got my GED in '95. They stopped college, I think, in '95, I think. And so
Wow,
I thought that was awful, but you know,
that was awful. Now, did you do all your time at the same facility?
no, I did 8.5 years at Lee Avondale State Prison, or Alto, which we knew about. Then I ended up getting transferred to a more medium security facility. And then I got transferred to the Atlanta Transition Center, the same place I rolled out of.
Hmm.
So I went to 3 facilities. So I was an hour and a half away, transferred me to a facility a little bit closer to my house. I was like 50 minutes away. And then I was 15 minutes away from home. So I mean, God bless me. It's a unique story. I think I have a unique story of watching redemption, you know, turning my life around, watching how God used me to. And because while I was in there, I started speaking to schools. They were doing a scared straight program while I was in there. So they allowed me to do that, and they loved me for doing it. They brought the juvenile. They passed a law where they started giving juveniles adult time. So they had juvenile norms at our facility, which to me was the worst thing they could ever did. And so I ended up starting being a mentor,
Hmm.
and everything that I started doing there is what I actually do out here now. So it was just.
But now you get paid for it. That's good. So let me ask you this. Let's go back to prison. And people think that everything in prison is free. You know, you're taken care of. You get medical, you get food. Talk to me about what that's like and what it was like, the stress on your mom and your family for that.
Well, of course, state has to feed you. We know
Yes,
that. You can't put a person in prison and don't feed them. Like you,
right?
bread and water, whatever you think they get. But like soups and pies and cosmetics, of course, state provides state soap, state deodorant, um, toiletries. They send a little uh, generic brand, not Irish Springs or Dove or anything like that. You have to actually purchase that. And so your family or friends at the time have to send you income. They even actually changed the law rule where we used to get free medical, and then we eventually had to start paying for medical. I think it was $5. I think it's $10 now, or $5 every time you go to medical, or $10 or something like that. So
Even if you were indigent, they charged?
yeah, they just put it on your tab.
I
Yeah,
see. So
yeah,
then when you had somebody put money on your books, or if you had a job, it came off of your balance. So
if
if
you
you
owe,
were negative until, right.
yeah, if you owe the state $100 and somebody sent you $100, they're gonna take $100.
Mm, that's crazy.
Unfortunate. Um, Same thing as a bank. Whatever you owe, they're gonna take it off. So um, it does put a lot of pressure on a lot of people's parents. My mother sent me money when she could. You know, thank God she always kept a job and she was able to send me money periodically. Not on maybe once, maybe twice a month. And I had to stretch my money.
Hmm.
Maybe go to the store once a week. And so, um, if you worked on details, of course you get lunch. You get a pack out lunch. There used to be 3 meals. There used to be 3 hots in a cot. After I got out of prison, a lot of budget changed. I think up until this COVID, they dropped it down to 2. Um, I think 3 meals on the weekday and 1 on the weekend.
Yeah, they find ways to cut
Yeah,
any way
no,
they can.
yeah. I
So now
think.
you had to
Uh,
pay for your own phone time, or people had to put
oh, you had
money
to
on
pay
the
for your own
phone
phone.
for
Yeah,
you,
you had
right?
to pay for your own phone time. Like,
And when you were in, they didn't have email, I'm assuming,
oh
like they
no,
do now, right?
none of that.
Hmm.
And you know, so we had a phone system that was kind of expensive when I first started, but then when they shifted to that nationwide phone that went through, that phone bill was, the charge on that phone was so high, and it began. I think they man, it was so many grievances and lawsuits against that because people bills was like ridiculous, six, seven, $800 bills that maybe used to be 200 because
Yeah,
of
it's crazy.
bills. So somebody had capitalized major. I don't know who passed. I don't know who, whatever commissioner at the time. A lot of people, I think well, whatever was going on. We know people, and people, how they choose
Right.
to do it. But
So
they was,
prison is definitely a corporation for profit.
of course it is. I mean,
Yes.
we all know. I mean,
Mm-hmm. What's
uh,
the worst thing you saw in prison?
the one thing that I didn't actually see, but I knew what was going on around was when guys were getting taken advantage of
Mm-hmm.
and getting raped. Um, to me, that was always one of the saddest things I've seen because people uh, took a man's manhood.
Right.
And a person had to live with that inside that prison. And depending on where they from, if people talk about them, tell friends out on the street, those people have to live with that. So it was almost like being molested or raped, when you're young, and you have to live with that.
Forever. Yeah.
So yeah. So to me, other than fighting and stuff like that, you're gonna see that in prison. I mean, stabbings, you're gonna see that. You're gonna see all that type of stuff in prison. For me, the worst thing was watching people like that getting bad take, or people that just give up and commit suicide. Like that to me was always the harsh things because some people couldn't deal with it, couldn't handle it. So those to me are the most harsh things that I witnessed. And I was fortunate. I thank God. Even though I was at one of the roughest prisons you go to, I really didn't have many problems. Thankful.
That's good.
Thank God. It could have been worse, but obviously, God, and so I ended up having a great reputation down there because I was doing a lot of positive things and a lot of guys embraced that. So I actually had an opportunity to do a lot of positive things while I was incarcerated. So I was one of the fortunate ones. Thank God for that.
So you got out. You got out, and what's the first thing you did? Did you go to a halfway house or?
Yes. Well, the halfway house before you get out of prison.
Yes.
So you go to halfway house when you transition from prison. So the halfway house here in Georgia is two different parts of it. One is long-term maintenance, and the other part of the halfway house is work release. So I was able to get into long-term maintenance, and then once parole board approved it, I went over to work release, and I left for about $11,000, which was pretty cool.
Okay.
So I left, paroled out. But here's an interesting twist to my story. Georgia passed some weird laws while I was incarcerated. And so in the midst of these laws, I told you I was locked up for armed robbery, manslaughter, false imprisonment, burglary, and carrying a concealed weapon. Now, I never knew about this until I got ready to get out. Got my home monitor and all this, and my address had got approved, and then they realized I had a notification on my files that said he has to register as a sex offender. Even the parole officer was like, I don't understand what's going on. What is this? Because you don't even have a sex offense charge. Everybody was like, the whole facility I was at was just like, what's going on? Like, he don't even have a sex offense charge. So Georgia had passed a law that said, that's where they were just tough on the sex offense law back in the late 1990s, all the way to the early 2000s. And it said it doesn't even have to be of a sexual nature, but because there was a minor in the house when I robbed, they passed a law and said we have to register as a sex offender.
Oh my goodness.
So I was supposed to get out August 2007. I didn't end up getting out to December because they denied my house, where my mom stayed at, where I had to actually find me a place to live. And when they approved this condominium in a nice community, and I got paroled out December 10th. And before I went to see my parole officer, I was picking up a couple items for my house. And when I got ready to go to the parole officer called me like, yo, you need to come in right now. So I go in so he could put the leg monitor on me because either way I got to deal with sex and stuff. Just had to deal with it because it was a law. I had to deal with it. And I was just so ready to go home. Man, I'm at 15 years now. I'm ready to go home. Whatever I got to deal with, I've dealt with worse in prison. I got to deal. I didn't realize how intense those laws were. The laws was ridiculous. And Georgia had some of the toughest laws at one point. And this parole officer said, you can't stay in that condominium that you just put that money down. He said we made a mistake letting you out. It was 3:45. It was 4:45 at the time. The parole board actually, the parole office, not a parole board, but parole office actually closed at 5 o'clock. He said you have 15 minutes to find you another place to live, or I'm sending you back to prison.
Oh man. So what did you do?
I almost melted in there. Just literally, I turned to dust. I said, sir, I've been locked up 15 years. How am I going to find a place? It took me 3 months to find a new place to live. How am I going to find a place in 15 minutes? He said, that's not my, he was so nasty at the time. He was just like, that's not my problem. And to have to go back and tell my mom that, like my mom literally, she almost had a nervous breakdown. But so because it was time to close, he couldn't file a warrant to lock me up. He said, being in the morning, he said, you can't stay at your mom's house because your mom stays too close to a school. Georgia laws was for sex offenders, you couldn't be 1,000 feet from a school, playground, park, bus stop, church, anywhere where kids gather, you couldn't be within 1,000 foot. In Georgia, there's a church almost on every corner.
Yes.
Schools, my mother stayed across the woods, which I knew it had to be 1,000 foot, past 1,000 foot. That school bus stop, churches here. What am I gonna stay at? Like, so I go back in the next day. They told me you got to 4 o'clock to find you a place to live, or we sending you back. You going to jail. So I would have to get admitted to the jail in order to I found a place to live.
Right.
So I was going to get back incarcerated. My mom found me another place to live. I lost money in that condo. They wouldn't even give my money back. Didn't stay one night in there. So all that day, I'm looking on Craigslist. I'm looking. Couldn't find a place. Then the lady that I worked for Hardback, she told me to call this one particular guy. And I called the guy. He had a room in the house that was 1,000 foot away from everything. I called him. And the room house actually was a substance abuse facility. I told him my situation. I told him I can pay my rent because I had a job. I worked third shift, a decent paying job. I had money saved up. I can get you a down payment. I can pay weekly. He understood what I was going through. He approved me to go. They called my friend, the lady I worked for called me at 3:15. I remember they gave me up to 4 o'clock.
Right.
I had to run out. No, she called me at 2 something. So I had to go out and actually meet the guy. I got back to the parole office at 3:30. I remember I told you, no, like 3:45 actually.
Right.
At 4 o'clock, they was gonna lock me back up.
That's just unbelievable.
Yeah, so I got out there, they proved it, they looked it up, they said, you can go stay there. Like, this ain't the end of the story now. I get there. I was like, at least I got a place to live. And it was like 1,000 foot from the train station. So now I can get to work. So that's a Tuesday. Wednesday, everything good. Thursday, everything good. Friday, everything good to around about 3 o'clock, 3:30. I get up, get ready to go to work. And my parole officer called me. She said, and I had a real cool parole officer. It was her chief, assistant chief that was giving me all the problems. And she called me. She said, I know you're doing good out here, Howard. She said, listen, pound the concrete this weekend. You need to find your place to live. My parole chief said, you are 10 feet too close to a park.
Oh, no.
Listen, I just like, she said, I don't know what to say. All I could do is relay the message to you. She said, I'm going to give you access to do, because I had the leg monitor on. She said, I'm going to give you access. Just make sure you clock in. I'm going to give you access to look for whatever you need to look for. And she said, but Monday, if you ain't found a place, he's going to lock you up. I was like in turmoil. Like, All Saturday, I'm looking for a place. All of a sudden, now mind you, I go to work third shift. So I get ready to go
No
in Sunday
sleep.
night. Yeah. So I get ready to go in Sunday night. And really, I just prayed. I didn't know what else to do because I couldn't find a place to live. And I just made up in my mind that I was going to have to go back to jail till my mom found a place to live. And I promise you, and I tell people this story, and I put it in my book. Man. As clear as day, I heard God say, "Your faith, where is it? I doubt it."
Mm-hmm.
I was at peace for the rest of the night. I got up. I got off that morning. My mom was out that way. We went to McDonald's, got some breakfast, and on the way to the parole office, because I had to go to the parole office that morning. My mom just crying. She's just crying because she can't believe it. Monday already was an issue. We think everything's good. Friday, here comes another issue. Monday, I got to turn myself in if I ain't find a place to live. And so I go in Monday. I'm the first person at the parole office. I'm sitting there, and not the assistant chief that was giving me the problem. The chief came out there, and he said, "Howard, come back to my office." And he didn't call me back. He said, "Who told you was going back to prison?" I said, "My parole officer said that y'all was going to send me back if I couldn't find a place to live." And he said, "I got a strange phone call this morning from the head parole board, the head director at the time. He was the guy. He said, your case came across his board, and he heard about all the situation. He said, we made a mistake when we released him because of the charge." He said, so we're going to fix it. He said, he's not going back to prison. He's good at ways that, listen, so you know how the little marshes is, like you have marshes, I guess, like with a little sewer. So there's a street, the little marsh, and then a street across from the marsh. So the marsh is only 10 foot. And then on the street is the park. So you cross the street, the park. So that man even said, I said, it's a marsh. He was like, well, we don't know. You might want to cross the marsh. You got to ride around the marsh anyway. It's only a little 50 feet of marsh.
Right.
I can go around the marsh and go to the park. Like, come on, what?
If you want to go to a park, you're going to find a way to go to a park.
Yeah, I don't care what it was. Like, I don't have to cross through them. That don't even make sense. My charge doesn't even have sex charge. I don't have no sex in charge. I'm not a predator. I don't have statutory rape. I don't have none of that. And you're treating me like I'm a predator, man. You know what I'm saying? I got an armed robbery charge. I have a murder charge, man. So, the chief said, you don't have to worry about you're not going back to prison. He said, congratulations on getting out of prison. Enjoy your life. Yo, that the relief of just was so overwhelming because I knew I was going back. I had already prepared myself to get locked up. My mother's outside just losing it. When I was able to walk back out there and tell her, like, let's go, I don't know, be straight. And so a couple months after that, I get a phone call from the Southern Center of Human Rights. And they, my name was brought up, and they wanted me to kind of help spearhead this particular bill. At first, I wasn't going to do it because it was embarrassing. Because when you hear a sex offender, the first thing everybody thinks about is a predator or something to that degree. Not even knowing what the law, because nobody really understood the law in Georgia. Nobody understood this law because the law was too spread out too far. It wasn't even supposed to hit people like me, but it did. And a lot of people got swallowed in this particular bill. So I went on and said, I'll do it. And 2 years later, so it's 2007, I get out 2008, 2009, we're fighting. We're in the federal court fighting. You'd be surprised how that particular day at the federal court was trying to throw me under the rug. He was like, well, in the midst of your robbery, they found condoms in the house. And I was just like this. I don't know what they found. It wasn't my condoms. Right. I don't know. We was robbing the house. We was throwing stuff out of the drawer. We was looking for money, man. Nobody touched nobody. You never heard one of those girls say nothing about touching nobody. So what are you trying to make me look like I'm evil for? You know what I'm saying? Like I've done something wrong. I didn't do nothing wrong. I'm not a sex offender. So what, this is how he's trying to treat me. But I had so many people like vouching for me and stuff like that, my character and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they passed this bill that kind of let us, people who have the less offensive sex offense, to find a place to live. We can find a place to live without being, but you have to I had to register once a year on my birthday. I had to register every year on my birthday. So once they passed the bill, then they said I can actually apply to the judge, and the judge see fit, he can take you off the sex offense bill altogether. So I suppose we went to court December 4th to hear the judge ruling. December 3rd, I'm laying in the bed. I get a phone call about 9 o'clock that morning, and my lawyer said, I got some good news. So I was like, yeah, what's up? She said, you ain't even got to go to court tomorrow. The judge already signed off on your paperwork. I just rolled out the bed. I was like, oh, man, I was so crazy, like excited, like to be able to call, she said you had the papers in the mail in a couple of days, explaining everything. I was so quick because I went up to Cab County, like, listen, I ain't got to sign up no more. Here's the paperwork. Y'all make copies of it. I'm off this mess. I'm done. You know what I'm saying? So that was December 4th. The next week when I got my paperwork, I went up there. I got a phone call that week when I was asked to go back inside the Department of Corrections. So mind you, I didn't get actually taken off the sex offense list until like January, February 2010.
Wow.
So I get approved to work as a chaplain back in the center while I'm still registered as a sex offender. I'm still on parole. Man, it was such a great opportunity. And the superintendent that approved it, he was like so excited to approve me because he knew my character, because I've been there with him for a couple of years, doing what I do. And his bosses didn't disapprove of it. And so here's the substance. 2020, 11 years later, still working in the same department, now actually employed by the Department of Correction. And so it's been a great road. It was a tough road, but it's been great because so people don't see what, even without the sex offense. I went to college in 2012, 2010. I graduated 2012 or 11, one of them, I can't remember. But I tried to apply for a job in the same field that I graduated from, and I got denied because of my background. Very good paying job. I still couldn't find a place to live. I had to move back with my mom for like 5.5, 6 years until I got this condominium I'm living in now because somebody gave me an opportunity to purchase a condominium. So I didn't even get the chance to. I rented one apartment because my mom had to put it in her name. But I couldn't even get another apartment. And I never forget, I did a lot of newspapers and news articles and on TV and all. I did an article one day with Channel 5, or I think Channel 5, one of them. And so that a couple days later, I went to an apartment. I never forget. And the property manager said, when he seen me when I walked through the door, he said, "Oh, I seen you on the news. I love what you." This guy gets up, comes around the desk, he hugs me, and he said, "But man," we get to talking, I was telling him about I want to rent an apartment. He said, "Man, as much as I love what you do, man," he said, "corporate won't allow me to let you have this apartment, man, because you got a felony." Like, I smiled, but when I walked out the door, man, it felt like I was falling apart again. And I just kept saying to myself, like, man, how long am I gonna have to keep living like this? And about a week or two later, I got the opportunity to talk to the guy here, and I'm always honest about my life, and I talked to him about it, and he called me back a couple days later. He said, if you got a $3,000 down to put down on it, man, I'll give you the opportunity. He said, I appreciate you being honest, and you seem like to be an honest person. He said, that's the type of people I want around me. He said, it really don't matter about your charge, but as long as you're an honest person and, you're able to pay your bills on time. He said, that's all I'm concerned with. He said, but I appreciate you being honest with me. So it was tough. People don't realize what convicted felons go through.
Right.
They get out of prison. Like, some people get a great opportunity, and a lot of people get a lot of hardship to the point it makes you want to just throw in the towel. It makes you want to give up. And in the midst of that, a lot of people don't understand, like, when people get out of prison, you're so traumatized already from prison. You get out here and you never really learn how to live. All you know how to do is survive, because that's what you've been doing for so long in prison, especially if you've done a long stint of prison time.
Which you did do.
Yeah, which I did do. And so I didn't really know how to live. That's why I made so many financial mistakes when I first got out. That's why I made so many relationship mistakes when I got out, because I was still an 18-year-old kid when I got out.
Right.
I never really transitioned from an 18-year-old kid when I got out when I was 33. I was still 18 years old mentally. So I've been trying to catch up to my age, because to me, age doesn't make you the mature person. Trials and things that you deal with through life and what you learn through life is what makes you the person you was. And so I we didn't have as many resources available to us when I got out of prison. There's a lot more organization agencies who are trying to provide more better opportunity for people who are coming out of prison. And I'm just grateful to be a part of a couple of agencies that are trying to bridge a gap between people getting out of prison and coming back into society. So
Right.
there's a lot more opportunities now than ever before. Thanks to Republican Governor Deal, and I'm not a Republican, but when I tell you Governor Deal set the platform on prison reform, and at one time Georgia was leading the nation in prison reform, and that's who everybody was trying to copycat. And like I said, I have the utmost respect for Governor Deal. And you just don't find people who I watched this guy cry as he spoke about being locked up. And I'm actually on a documentary called Release.
Mm-hmm.
You may be seeing it in my chat. Seeing it on my LinkedIn. And if the link is still on, I think you can click on the link and you can see the release. And even Governor Deal said that there's certain people that have still at work at, they actually work at the governor mansion. And he said, I'm the governor, and if they still have a hard time, and I'm the governor, I can't imagine people that don't have support. And this is from the governor, and this is from he's the highest dictator in the state.
Right.
His word don't even mean everything when it comes to certain things, when it comes to convicted felons. So, but I am grateful for a leader such as that, as Governor Deal, who really, to me,
you have touched on everything I was going to ask you. So you've obviously done this before, but you've written a book, right?
Yeah, I have a book called, and this is
Yes.
the older version of them. Actually, there's a revised version that's coming out in the next next week, which I'm just adding. There's a new book. I actually got the book around, so I tried to look for it before I got on. But because I got stuff, this is my kitchen had become my workstation, so I thought I had it here. But I actually add because one thing I tried to do was, I don't want kids or people to read my book without analyzing how this can help. Oh, it is right here. How it can help them, because I deal with a large population of young adults, and mainly people I deal with are young African American males who
Mm-hmm.
are the lowest when it comes to reading and literacy.
Right.
So I also encourage literacy with my book. I encourage. But what I did, I'm adding a reading assessment to the back, so they can read the book, they can assess it, and then it's going to ask questions about themselves and about life choices they made as well. So I want to make sure that if a parent let a kid read, then they can sit down and ask some of the questions with them. They can go along with it, or at a school, because I've had schools to purchase books for their youth and kids, and churches, dozens of books at a time to pass out to kids, because I really believe in literacy, and I want kids to understand, because I have a campaign that is called Great Readers Become Great Leaders.
That's right.
I want to read, and so this is the old version of it. This
Okay.
is the new version. That's called Omar House Story. It's all in the name. My name actually means everything I'm doing, which is crazy when I figured that out. So here's something interesting. I gave the governor one of my books as a present because he came to do something at our facility one day. And I seen him again a couple months. Well, actually, I got an email of something he sent to my boss lady. And then I ran into him at an event, and I reminded who it was. He said, I read your book. He said, a lot of people give me books all the time. He said, I don't normally read books because I get so many of them.
Right.
He said, your book was on my table. I walked by and I glanced at it, and he said, I picked it up. He said, I read it. I couldn't put it down. He said, I read through the whole book. It's not a long book, but he said, I encourage every legislator to read your book to see the difficulties of people that's coming through prison. And that's going to be the forward on back of my book when you get it from Governor Deal. And Governor Deal says the best person to tell the story is someone who actually lived the story, such as in the case with Omar Howard. His journey through the criminal justice system is one that too many other young men are taking. Every policymaker should read this book.
I think that's wonderful.
From Governor Deal, former Governor Deal. So I am so grateful for him taking on that challenge, passing legislative that will help people such as me and you, who've been through in the state of Georgia now. I mean, I wish it was across the board. And so these doors have opened up doors where I've worked alongside several sheriff agencies, helping them with their Scared Straight program, speaking at their events, all the way up to the governor, even being a contract speaker for the U.S. Attorney's Office, which I'm still in contract now as a speaker for the U.S. Attorney's Office, getting awards after awards, only because I decided to make something different in my life. And that's the reason why I go out and try to encourage kids, because what I've learned, and I tell people all the time, if we know that the system wasn't designed, especially for young African American males or minorities,
right,
they get challenged when they're in their court system. And we've known throughout history how the court system and judicial have treated African American males, especially. But here's my approach to my young adults. If you know the system is designed for us, then stop being a product for it.
That's right.
So that's my take with my young men. As a policymaker, the scales can't tilt. The scale have to be balanced. I'm not here condoning crime. I'm hoping that we all get a fair shake, a fair shot when we step inside that courtroom. And it shouldn't matter how I look. It shouldn't matter my class. It shouldn't matter if I'm rich or poor. It shouldn't matter if you can afford a high price attorney and I only can get a public defender. I shouldn't be able to get a 50-year sentence for something that my counterpart or my white counterpart gets 2 years for.
I completely agree.
Yeah, we see it so much that it causes a lot of, and to the point where our young adults, and you know this being in court, and most of us that go to prison, we don't know nothing about no law. Half of us can't comprehend what they're talking about in there. If you don't get an attorney, maybe if I want to go in and fight my own case, then you get, which becomes a money thing throughout this whole system.
It does.
If I don't get an attorney,
you get even more time.
You get more time because I can't afford a lawyer.
Right. Makes no sense.
Yeah, so saying all that to say, I think I always try to think of me as a person, as an individual. I try to stay in a place of integrity when I'm talking. I want fairness across the board when it comes to sentencing. I'm also on the other side when I'm in my community talking to my young brothers and sisters about committing crimes, because I can't encourage fair sentencing when you're out here committing crimes that, laws are being passed that even if it's fair, you still could be doing a lot of time.
That's true.
You're white, I'm black. We both commit murder. They give you a life sentence. Life sentence in Georgia carry a mandatory 30 years before you even consider for parole.
Right.
So regardless of how fair, if both of us still get a life sentence, that's 30 years.
That's a lifetime.
Your parents may be passed away by the time you get out.
More than
carries a mandatory 10 years.
Mm-hmm. So,
and then they got other laws on top of laws where you might get a 30-year sentence. You're going to do about 28, 29 years of that. So it's a young man that I mentored when he was a juvenile in prison. And when I was in prison, he fell upon a law that they still trying to change to this day. It's called the 440 bill. Whatever time you got, that's what you did. So this kid had one armed robbery. He's done 25 years. on a 30-year sentence. He has to do the whole 30 years.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. It's
Yeah,
very
and
unfortunate.
you telling me that it's people that have gotten out. Look how many charges I have, right? I know other people who have life sentences who only did 21 years on murder charges. These kids have one armed robbery.
And getting 30 years.
He has to do a whole 30-year sentence.
Yeah, it makes no
Yeah.
sense.
Unfortunate. Yeah, and how much really can you, he's a positive kid, but I mean, how much more positive can you tell him?
Yeah.
I mean, he still has 6 years, he still has 5 to 6 years left. And the judge and this case don't went in front of, the different circuits, and y'all still don't.
Exhausted everything. Yes.
Yeah, you still don't see where this is unfair. It was a kid. He don't know better. He didn't know better. I mean, and I tell people all the time, when what I did when I was 17, 18 years old doesn't reflect who I am as a man now. I'm a grown man now. I don't do what I did. I don't even think that way. So now, like I said, I'm actually applying for my gun rights back. I'm hoping I get approved. Not for the fact because I'm trying to be no cowboy and nothing like that. Really, I just want all my rights back.
And you've already done your time. You should be able to have your rights.
Yeah. Now everybody don't need to have a gun. I think it needs to be a case by case.
That's true. That's true.
I actually work for the
There's
Department
people that are not felons that do not need a gun.
Period. On that I'm laughing at is like, I actually work for the Department of Corrections.
Which is tremendous. It is
absolutely
tremendous.
And remember what I was locked up for. So I'm an action employee. So I can apply for a warden job if I want to.
Yes, you could.
Right? So saying all that to say, I just want people to get a clear understanding. People make bad decisions. A lot of people deserve to come home. But people shouldn't have to come home still to be incarcerated. And
very true statement.
It is a tough life when you still have to deal with your hands being tied. If I have a good job and I can afford to stay in a place, in apartments, one bedroom that's $1,800, why can't I stay there? I'm not locked up. It's like I'm in prison.
Right.
I can afford to stay there. I haven't been locked up in years. Well, if somebody was asking me like, if you can't commit a felony, I haven't committed a felony in over 20 years. Almost 30 years.
Still a felon. In their mind, it's a mindset.
Yeah. So I think that, to me, the legislators need to change some things when it comes to, and I understand, like everybody, you don't want everybody staying beside you. Some people just, some people just gonna be who they are. I understand that. I think that should be a case by case basis too. I think the department should see, but you shouldn't be denied because of something I did 30 years ago.
I agree.
I understand now. Maybe
people do change.
Yeah, I can see if I was a mentally held sexual predator, or I'm schizophrenic or something, where my mind may flip to, and it's documented. Maybe so. I can understand. Maybe you having you eyebrow up because of that. Mm-hmm. But the way people are being mistreated and the way people are being handled when it comes to the judicial system, the systemic racism, law enforcement. You can imagine, unless you're African American, no one really understands when I say, like, we deal with the systemic racism, we deal with law enforcement, we deal with the judicial system, we deal with local government, we deal with agency, and then we deal with our own community. Like, as an African American man, it's tough, man. People don't understand that. I'm not saying it's an excuse, or we're looking for a pity party. We just want people to understand that it's real, it's serious, and until you see that it's unfair, and stand alongside us so we can be treated like a human being. If I pay my dues and I've got an opportunity to live, let me live. Don't take away from me being a father or a husband or an individual that just want to have and enjoy this life. Don't let that be stolen from me or allow me to still feel like I'm incarcerated. So
you shouldn't have to be punished for the rest of your life.
I shouldn't have to be.
That's right.
I don't want to be.
Well, Omar, thank you very much for the interview. I'm going to go ahead and turn off the recording, but you can stay on.
Okay.
And it was a pleasure speaking with you. I hope your book turns out to be a huge success. And if people want to find that book, where can they find it at?
It's on Amazon.com. You can actually read on Amazon.com. I think you will love the book. I think it's a great book to read. I think it's only 154 pages. It's going to be a few more now that when the questionnaire goes up in the next couple of weeks. But it is, you can't order it now. So saying all that to say, just loving life right now. I'm loving life. If you want to book me to come speak, you can book. You can reach out to me at 404-480-3235. You can email me at freedomisachoice2012@gmail.com. I am a successful author. I am a mentor. I have a nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit. It's called Freedom is a Choice Incorporated. Always need support and help to help our young adults. I'm also a life coach. I'm a certified life coach. I am a certified anger management specialist. And I've added a couple more certifications on, and so I can definitely target the young people that I deal with every day. And I'm chaplain of Atlanta Transit in Ponce Leon. So
That's
I'm
wonderful.
super excited. Thank you so much for allowing me to.
Thank you. I appreciate it.